Dave, you spoke at length about the benefits of having a clear few weeks with the players now to work with them on the training pitch. How has that gone so far, and what have you worked on?
Yeah, we're only a week into that. And I suppose a couple of days where you can focus on us. Obviously, from the start of pre-season, there's players that have missed sessions through injuries, and we've looked at what our plan is and what we want to do in and out of possession, and that'll be an ongoing theme over the next sort of 4 to 5 weeks. So no, it's been good in order to, I suppose, re-emphasise some of what we need to do and what we want to do, and we get a chance to go and perform and hopefully show some of that out at the weekend.
You said a few times after the game on Saturday you didn't want to talk about individuals, and I guess that is partly because it's sort of a collective need to improve right now across the board to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, you look at our strengths last year were around our team. There were, I suppose, questions asked when Louis left, having scored all the goals, because Louis was the key to us getting where we were, and we proved beyond that as a team we were far, I won't say stronger as a result, but it really was a team ethic. Louis was getting a lot of the praise, which will happen in teams, and that's always going to be the case. We're at a point now where, listen, we've got some adversity. Some things are going against us. That's all right. That can happen. You can either use that as an excuse, or you sulk, or you get on with it. And what we're really good at as a football club, and what the town are really good at, is sticking together and having a right go, and showing why we've had the success we've had and the constant improvement over the last decade. That's not something that's built on, like I say, the last few months. So we've got the group that we've got. Like I say, it would be great to have everybody fit. That's not the case, and not going to be the case until at least January. So we have to get on with it and produce performances and try and improve. Like I say, big word we use here is around consistency, around how we act and how we go about things. We've got to show that on the pitch. We're just lacking that a little bit at the moment. There are good bits, but the bits are all letting us down, and that needs to improve in order for us to be competitive again.
You've been in this position, of course, before, with a little bit of adversity at the start, having to deal with injuries, but then more often than not, everything just suddenly seems to click. Are you able to draw on those past experiences to help you through this period?
You are, but again, I don't think things just click. You have to work at things in order to be able to click. It's really, really hard to win, and it's really easy to lose. So we've got to remember how hard we had to work in order to get that success. Success just doesn't happen by waiting for things to fall into place. You have to work at those sort of things, and the harder you work, maybe the luckier you get. Hopefully that's the case. From our side of things, again, there's been, like some adversity. We've been a little bit inconsistent in our performances. Some new players coming in haven't hit the ground running. That's always difficult. I think I've mentioned that previously. But what we've got to do is really work to make sure that improves and we get that consistent nature around what we're doing. I think sometimes there'll be an internal expectation of what we want to do, but we remain humble around how we go about it and how hard we have to work in order to make that happen. Adversity, I suppose, in this football club is not having lost consecutive games for a season and a half, and that's where we're currently at. That comes on the back of, yes, some injuries, yes, some players not quite getting up to speed, yes, us losing a game last weekend. That happens. We've no divine right to win football matches. Are we disappointed with not winning? Of course we are, because our expectations are that we think we can compete and try and win every game. That doesn't always happen. What you have to do is make sure that you react in the right way and bounce back. And like I say, over the course of the last 4 years, we've been really good at doing that. And I hope you'll see that, not just this weekend, but moving forward.
You said on Saturday there may be some changes as a consequence of the game at Plymouth. Can fans expect to see that this weekend?
Listen, I'm not going to give too much away around how we're going to set up, how we're going to line up. But we ultimately will look at different things in order to get ourselves a positive result. People will always, I've said this before, I said it after the game on Saturday, people will always look at systems, shapes, formations. Like I say, we'll be a different shape in possession and out of possession. We'll still stick to our principles and philosophy of what we want to do. We want to be on the front foot. We want to be aggressive. That's what this football club is. That's what the town is based upon. And that won't change. So at Edgeley Park, over the, like I say, the past 4 years, we've been really good at that. And regardless of who we play, we want to go out and be the aggressor and the one that's on the front foot. We're playing against a team that will enjoy possession or are a possession-based team and are good at that, whilst having real threats at the top end of the pitch. So we know we're not going to have to be good, but what we're not going to be is safe. We're going to have a right go and hopefully show the positive sides of our squad and our group.
In terms of the group that you're working with now, I guess the end of the transfer window brings clarity in terms of players coming in, but also the players that are still here. Luis Fiorini, for example, a player who, in fairness, in the last couple of games has started to impact the game at the top end of the pitch. Got another assist last Saturday. What's the message to players like Luis right now? Because they could obviously still have an important part to play this season.
They'll always have a part. Luis, listen, I've said no problem. Luis has had a little bit of a flare-up on his knee, so won't be involved this weekend. But as an example of somebody that was, I suppose, out of the picture last year, went out on loan. Loan didn't quite work out for him. In this window, there were, I suppose, murmurings of him going out, but ultimately he hasn't, and he's here with us. So what he's got to do is make the most of the opportunities that he gets. We will hopefully get to a point over the next few weeks where the squad becomes stronger. There are players that are going to be missing from the match day squad. That increases competition, that increases the need and desire to do well on the training pitch, and the challenge of all that brings. But football changes really, really quickly. So if you're out of the squad or out of the picture in terms of starting line at 1 minute, the next week you could be right back in it. And what you need to be able to do in the modern game is have an impact. And when you get the chance, make sure that you grab it and do everything you can to give yourself more of those opportunities to perform and consolidate your, I suppose, space in the squad or in the starting lineup.
In terms of Saturday, you obviously got Benno back in the building from international duty. Callum Campson, Owen Dodgson, are they close to a return?
Campsey's really close. Whether it's this weekend or next weekend, again, it'll be close. We'll see how today goes with him. Owen Dodgson, no, he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks. It could be more than that, depending on how the whack on his leg settles. So yeah, not good news on that front, but not really surprising, and like I say, not something that will let affect us. It will impact us in terms of personnel. We can play in certain positions. Having two left wing backs out at the same time isn't ideal, but we'll have to make it work.
You talked about Cardiff already, unbeaten start for them, top of the table. But it feels like the kind of challenge, I suppose, in these circumstances that you kind of relish going into.
Yeah, listen, we've been in this situation before where you maybe come into it on the back of a disappointing result, and you look at the team you're playing against and think, oh, big challenge. But we want to face these big challenges. Like I said, I knew that at the start of this season, our first 12 games, in my eyes, we were going to play against at least 8, if not more, teams that would be in around the top half of the table. So that was always going to be a challenge, but we back ourselves to be up around the top of the table. So you have to play, like I say, you have to play everybody. We're playing against a team last year that have come down from the Championship, haven't really changed an awful lot. They've not had to sell or move on a lot of their players. So we know the threats that they pose. They've had a good start to the season on the back of probably a little bit of an eye-opener in the first game of the season when they played against Port Vale. And we're lucky to get the result that they did. But from them, they've built. I've got some consistency in the lineup. I've got obviously international players and lads that have played in the Championship over the course of not just one season but a couple of seasons. So a really good test for us, but one that we're looking forward to, one that's at our ground, and one that we're going to go and really show what we're about.
And just finally on the supporters, the majority of who really stuck with you at full time last week, there was obviously a little bit of frustration there as well. But when you go through little periods of adversity like this, how important is it to have them right behind you on Saturday and have everyone sticking together, as you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, of course it is. That's what we've done as a football club. That's what we do as a town. We're always trying to, I suppose, bat above our station, and in times of, like you say, adversity, again, sometimes you look at it and things can maybe feel a lot worse than what we are. I'll go back to 2 seasons ago when in our first 6 games we won 1, drew 2, lost 3. We went on to get promoted in that season, went on to win the league in that season. We started okay this year in terms of results. Still, straight from the start, as a performance hadn't quite been there. We'll get there. But I've said all the way through, and sometimes when you do say things around supporters and all being aligned and all being on the same page around what you're going to go and achieve, people say, oh, that's just a cliche, and you say that wherever. It's not. It's the reality. It's quite easy for me to come out and say about certain players, he needs to do that, he needs to do it. It's not going to make a difference. Again, I'll speak to people internally and explain what they need to do as a collective, not just on Saturday. This isn't a rally cry to say Saturday everyone needs to be. This is through the course of the season. Going away from home is difficult to play football matches. We've got to make sure that anyone that comes to Wednesday Park is difficult. We've done that, like I say, over the past 4 years, hence why our record is so good. Nothing will change from Saturday. Cardiff will sell their end out. It'll be a brilliant atmosphere. They'll come buoyant and thinking and wanting to win the game. It's the one opportunity that we have this year to show the Cardiff fans how good we are as a football club when we're in our stadium. And I've no doubt that'll be the case.
Appreciate your time, Dave. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers. Thank you.